finish the dreams. So we're talking about seeing places of idol worship. So I want to begin with Shulchan Aruch, chapter 224, talks about the laws of seeing locations of idol worship and seeing where it's uprooted. So it mentions here in chapter 224, person sees Markulis or other types of idols. He says the bracha, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, blessed is Hashem, the King of the universe, Shenosan erech apayim lo'ivrei ritzonon, that Hashem gives his mercifulness, he's slow to anger. He shows his slowness to anger, lo'ivrei ritzonon, to those that transgress his will. If he sees it within 30 days, you don't say the bracha again. And the Ramah adds in, and nowadays we don't say this bracha. So in Shulchan Aruch talks about seeing idols, and person sees Markulis, this type of idol. You would not say a bracha nowadays, according to the Ramah. The Shulchan Aruch said you say it once every 30 days. The Ramah says nowadays we don't say it. The Mishnah Brura says that the reason nowadays that we do not say this bracha is because the reason nowadays we don't say the bracha is because, one second. Okay. Is because we see these idols often. And because you see it often, so it's not like something new. You're not going to say this bracha. Now, we saw this in Tosfos. Tosfos said a similar thing, and I mentioned it yesterday. Tosfos said, and that's probably the source of the Mishnah Brura, that because we see it all the time, so you don't say this bracha. Ata ein regilan levarich. The Tosfos says this as well. So we said nowadays you don't say this bracha. Again, you walk by idols in the street down the road. You have some church, or you have some house of worship, and it has idols. You don't say the bracha because we see it all the time. So the question is that the question really is, what about the first time? Right? What about the first time around? The first time you should seemingly say the bracha. You don't say it, you see it often. You don't say it because you see it every 30 days. If you didn't see it for 30 days, you say the bracha, fine. So if you see it all the time, you can't say it. What about the first time? So the answer is, the first time you saw it, you were a child. Right? Because you see it all the time. So if you're a child, you didn't say the bracha the first time around. And now, every time you see it, you're continuing to see it. When you become bar mitzvah, you don't say the bracha. Why? Because I saw it when I was a child. I saw it when I was 12. I saw it when I was 10. I saw it when I was 6. I saw it when I was 3. So you saw it all these times. And when you were 3, you didn't say the bracha. And when you were 6, you already had seen it a million times. And therefore, you don't say the bracha on these things. Now, what about if you move to a town that you never saw this idol before? So if you move to a town that you never saw this idol before, the Mishnah Berurah says even there, he brings a source that even there, you don't say the bracha because this idol has been around over there, and no one there says the bracha anymore because Roiv Ha'olam, everyone over there that lives there, they see it. So it's nothing new. So it seems from all of this discussion that what is the rules behind seeing this idol is it has to be like a new idol. It has to be something that that wasn't there and that's not around. And because things are around, people have seen them. It's not really new. Everyone else, it's something they walk by all the time. So if it were to be something new, maybe you would say the bracha. But in the regular scenario, you don't say the bracha when you see these idols. That's the custom now. But it is brought in Shulchan Aruch that such a thing to say this bracha, that Hashem is slow to anger to those that transgress his will. Yes, Ben.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it yesterday that we studied before about blessings on smells that you enjoy. And I think it was in Tzipori that they said when you go in, or in cities where the majority is non-Jewish, if you go in and smell good smells, be careful because it might be Avodah Zarah and you should not say the blessing. So if we smell something, we shouldn't say the blessing on it. But if we see it, we should. I don't understand it. That's what I was trying to get to.
Okay. Would anyone like to answer Ben's question? Ben's asking a very challenging question. He says, when you're not allowed to smelling idol worship, you can't say the bracha. The Gemara says, don't say a bracha. If it's some type of smell that's coming from the idol worship, the idol that they put certain accessories to the idol.
Incense.
It might be incense. So they sacrifice
especially
incense.
The women, they said, if you smells like you think it's a woman, it's Avodah Zarah.
Might be incense. So you can't say a bracha on it. And here we're telling you straight out, go say a bracha. You saw an idol, say a bracha. How could that be? Anyone want to answer Ben's question? Yes, Yehuda.
Could it be that if with the incense somebody is doing something to worship the idol? To see it, no one is doing anything.
Okay, all right. That's
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're emphasizing that say that the incense, it's an active something is going on there, something active.
Right.
So
you're smelling it, you're getting a benefit. You're getting hana from the smell.
Isaac wants to say a slightly different, that the emphasis is that the whole bracha is about benefit. And on benefit that you're not allowed to have, you can't say a bracha. But the seeing the idol, you're not saying a bracha about benefit. You're just saying a praise to Hashem. It's a whole different bracha. The bracha on smell is a bracha of benefit and that you're not allowed to have. The bracha on seeing an idol is a bracha on seeing. It's a bracha of praising Hashem. It's not a bracha.
Why should we say anything? Why shouldn't we just?
Because it's a praise to God. When you're praising God is one thing. When you're benefiting, it's another thing. Here you're not allowed to benefit, so you can't say the bracha for the benefit. But here you're just saying a praise to Hashem that He has mercy and He has slow to anger. So
it's like countering what you're seeing. You say, our God is merciful. That's
right. It's interesting that it's because you would think it's such a terrible thing. It's such a disgusting thing. It's a rebelliousness to Hashem. So it seems surprising as your question, but the answer is that you're right. It's sort of like it's showing the greatness of Hashem, that He has mercy even on these things. He could destroy it in a second. Hashem could let it dissolve in 1 second, and He doesn't. So that would seemingly be the answer. Thank you both of you for answering it. Okay, so
I have another answer.
Yes, David.
So there's certain types of services for each of the idols. So if you do the service for idol A, but you do that service for idol B, that's not a sin.
Right.
So, but certain things are a sin no matter what kind of idol it is, and one of them is burning incense. One of them is bowing. One of them is wine libation.
Oh. But so why are we not allowed to go into a church, but we are allowed to look at the statue and bless God?
So it's not that you're, the reason you can't go into a church is not because you're going to see an idol. The reason you can't go into a church is it's like Marasayim. But the fact that you see an idol is not a problem to say a bracha.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the Shulchan Aruch. And then, of course, in Shulchan Aruch, it talks about this other point. Person sees a place that Avodah Zarah was uprooted from. If it's in Eretz Yisrael, he says a bracha, Sha'akar Avodah Koichavim Me'artzenu, that he uprooted Avodah Zarah from our land. If it's outside of Israel, you say Sha'akar Avodah Koichavim Me'hamakam Hazeh. You say that he uprooted Avodah Zarah from this place. Now, both of them, you say, Kishem she'akarta, the same way you uprooted it from this place, so shall you uproot it from all the places and bring back the hearts of those that serve you, your servants to serve you. Now, what about if they uproot it from one place and put it somewhere else? So you say, blessed is Hashem that he uprooted Avodah Zarah Avodah Zarah. In the place where they put it, you say, blessed is he that has mercy, that is slow to anger to those that transgress his will. So you say both brachos. That's the scenario where you could say both of these brachos. If they uprooted it from one place and put it somewhere else, you say both of the brachos. And then it mentions in Shulchan Aruch, if a person sees Bavel, Babylon, the wicked Babylon, you say, Baruch Ato Hashem, Elokeinu melech ha'olam, blessed is Hashem, King of the universe, Shehechriv Bavel Harisha'a, that he destroyed the evil Babylon. So the Shulchan Aruch says, you say this bracha when you see Bavel Harisha, and it's brought down, interestingly enough, in the Kaf HaChaim, he tells you where is the official Bavel. He has in his Sefer, in his book of Halacha, he has like he tells you it's in between Baghdad and some other city over there. And so he tells you like where is the old Bavel, where the original Bavel was. Now if a person sees the house of Nebuchadnezzar, which probably means his palace, you say the Baruch Shehechrev Beisai Shel Nebuchadnezzar Harasha, blessed is Hashem who destroyed the house of the evil Nebuchadnezzar, who destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. You see the Goyev Haroyos Kivshana Eish, all these brachas that we learned about yesterday. You say Baruch Sha'asa Nisim LaTzadikim B'Makam Hazeh. Blessed is he who made miracles for tzadikim. Now, in the Gemara, we saw actually a different term that a person says Lavisenu. We saw the version that it says Lavisenu, but we see in Shulchan Aruch they had a different version, and it was LaTzadikim, because Lavisenu is only applicable to Abraham, Yitzchok, and Yaakov. Maybe that's why the proper term should be L'Tzadikim. But in any event, there's definitely another version, and in Shulchan Aruch it brings down L'Tzadikim. Now, then it mentions that if a person saw this place in Babylon, that any animal that goes there is not able to move if you don't put earth from that place, and it's a siman klala. So you say that verse about betateya, betitesiha, b'matateya, hashme, b'matateya. Siman Klola, V'titisiha b'matateya hashmeid, and you say Baruch Omer v'Yosef Baruch Gozer u'Makayev Hashmad. Okay, so you say it with Hashem's name, of course. Baruch Omer v'Yosef Baruch Gozer Makayim. That's the bracha a person would say if he saw that place. That's interesting. That again, I don't know if we know where this place is. A very interesting place where Hashem, there's a curse on this place that the animals can't move from there unless you put earth from that place. And then it talks about if a person sees 600,000 Yidden together, you say Baruch Ato Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Chacham Harozim, the wise who knows all the secrets. Hashem who knows everyone's secrets. If it's Goyim, you say the other bracha, and Busha Imchem, and so on. Chafra Yoladetchem Hini Achros Goyim Midbar Tzia Va'arava. So just looking if there's a Mishnah Brura on this. A person sees a Chachmei Yisrael, he says, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam shechalak mechachmasei liyareyav. He gave from his wisdom to those that fear him. So Hashem gave from his wisdom to those that fear him. So seemingly this bracha should be recited when a person would see someone who's a tremendous scholar of the generation. There is someone who claims he asked Reb Moshe Feinstein if he should say this bracha for seeing Reb Moshe Feinstein. And Reb Moshe Feinstein said yes. That's the story. That this is the proper bracha. You know, that's the halacha. He had to say the truth. That you would have to say such a bracha. And then if you see someone wise from the nations of the world, you say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam shenasan mechachmasei lebasar v'dam, that he gave from his wisdom to humans. And for a king, you would say shachalak mikvoidoi liyareyav, and that's a Jewish king. For a Goyish king, shenasan mikvoidoi lebasar v'dam. Also, these different brachas that one says. It's also a mitzvah to see kings, even Goyish kings, and a person's even allowed to become tamei midrabanan, to honor whether Malchei Yisrael or Malchei Malchei Akum, which is very interesting. We learned about this maybe a year ago in the Gemara. And I mentioned yesterday that it's questionable if you see the president, would that apply? Because on the one hand, he has a lot of power, especially the president of the United States. He has tremendous respect in the world. On the other hand, it doesn't necessarily have the power like a typical king. So there is question as to if the bracha is about power or about honor. Yes, Robert.
I'm sorry, where's the reference we're dealing with? You're reading from Brochos or from the Shulchan Aruch?
I'm reading from the Shulchan Aruch. We're going to jump back to the Gemara, but I wanted to bring the actual law, book of law, so that we have clarity.
And that's in 224, right?
Chapter 224, not in the summarized Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. This is the real code of law.
The big one. All right. Right. So
it gets confusing, but that's there is the big one is the main Shulchan Aruch. The summarized is an unbelievable book that Rabbi Gansfried put together. I mean,
Right, but that's the
work of
Kitzer,
art,
right?
but
That's
it
the
is a
Kitzer
summarized
edition, right?
It is
Yeah,
a summarized version.
Okay, good.
Yes, Yehuda.
Yeah, so would we say this bracha over the King of England?
So that's a interesting question. Would you say the bracha of for a king if you would see the King of England? And I'm not really sure if the King of England is involved. Is it just a respectable position now, or do they actually make decisions? Like, do they just?
No, they don't make decisions, but they're asked for their opinion. So it's the Prime Minister of England is the one who makes a decision. The Prime Minister in the Parliament. But the king is at this point a figurehead, but they deserve respect. So the Prime Minister goes to the King of England, the King or the Queen of England, and to discuss things.
Right.
But they really don't have any power.
So that's an interesting question. Then, in other words, it does seem like it would speak similar to like the president of the United States, because it's also in a certain sense like in honor and respect in the world does seem to look up to the president of the United States as a major figure in world powers. But at the same time, they don't.
I'm sorry.
But at the same time, they don't really have power. They could get vetoed and voted out, impeached, and who knows what.
But they do have power. It may be limited, but they do have power.
Right.
Whereas
But
the king and
queen, I think it would be more.
Ben, just 1 second. But you're saying, but the King of England has more power?
No, doesn't have as much power as the president of the United States or the Prime Minister of England.
Interesting question. Ben wanted to say, oh no, Robert was first, I think. Robert was first. Yes,
no,
Robert.
But Ben, go ahead, because I think there's a distinction between somebody we elect and the president of the United States has an ability to make resolutions for people to follow. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, the king again is because it's a constitutional hierarchy. It is monarchy. It's not a legislative individual. It's a highly respected person who can maybe through his actions or speech can influence others in doing some kind of performance.
So who do you think should who should we say the bracha for, Robert? The
question for me is there a distinction between a king who does not have any jurisdiction over my life versus somebody who is my king or my president? Is there a distinction between doing a bracha that way?
I don't think so. I don't know if it matters if you see your king or a different king.
Right, okay.
So it doesn't matter if it's your king or someone else's king, but the question is, are they really called the halachic title of king? In other words, do they fall into that category of what we're speaking about, a melech, a real melech? Do they fall within that term? Yes, Ben.
I think maybe the king is more like the president in Israel, where the prime minister really rules,
right,
and makes all the decisions. But the president maybe is more moral issues.
Well, he's a figurehead. He's really a figurehead more than anything else.
Issues more than actual day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, the way this sounds, it sounds like it's going in a direction of all the people we think have all the power on the outside. They really don't have any power. Like,
well, previously they did. Let's say the king decides he wants to rule that again, one particular group of people should be killed. Okay. other countries they do, but let's say the monarchy, they have no influence relative to any kind of physical action at all.
Right. So I would think that it would definitely be questionable to say this bracha.
Yeah, I think
There
so.
are different opinions probably, but probably one would say it without Hashem's name, because of the questions involved. So in any event, it mentions here about the special inyan to see the kings, and it mentions here that if you saw the king once, you shouldn't interrupt your studies to see him more, unless he's coming with much greater honor. Now, then it talks about Haraya Bate Yisrael Be Yeshuvan. If a person sees the Bate Yisrael, which we didn't really go through yet, so maybe we'll wait till we get up to that.
Rabbi,
Yes.
when we were saying about the blessing to see 600,000 Jews,
Yeah.
Are we assuming that that's males over the age of bar mitzvah?
That's a good question. Haraya Shishim Riboy Mi Yisrael. Shishim Riboy Mi Yisrael Beyachad Oimer Baruch Ato Hashem L'Keinu Melech Haolam Chacham Harazim She'ein Daiton Doimin Zelazeh Ve'ein Partzufeim Doimin Zelazeh V'hu Yodeh Ma Shebelev Kol Echad. So it doesn't say clearly, but it has to do with the fact that their opinions are different and their faces are different. So it would seem that men and women should be equally eligible for this bracha. That's what it would seem like.
He asked about children.
And children, well, I guess children also have opinions. Although we do say that children don't have das, they have chachma and bina. They don't really have das. So if we're talking about deyoseyim, maybe children. I don't know. That's a good question. If children should be included, because you use the term das, and I think that's the concept of a bar mitzvah boy has the level of das, the ability to take responsibility, which is an understanding that's connected to emotions and action. So let's take a look. Take a look in the back over here. Let me just see if they mention this. Chances are it's a machlokes, David. That's almost all questions in Judaism are answered that it's an argument. But just in case.
I thought they're answered with another question.
Well, that's true also. But let's just take a look here.
In Yetziat Mitzrayim, they had that number over at the age of 20, which is military service.
So
I
they
think if you
talk-
see 600,000 people, you can't tell if there's children in between them or not.
yeah. What they do discuss is, does this bracha apply outside of Israel? The Rambam says it only applies in Israel. The Torah Shulchan Aruch, they don't make this rule that it's only in Eretz Yisrael. And one of the commentaries says the Rambam learned it from the Gemara that talks about Ben Zoyma, that he saw from Har Habayis. He saw this huge crowd, and so you see it's applicable in Eretz Yisrael. But it's not really 100% proof, the other commentaries say, because that's the story. Doesn't mean that it had to be that way. And then, so they try to figure out, where does the Rambam get it from? Yeah, it doesn't really mention clearly. I'll have to take a look in the Torah. Maybe the Torah talks about it. Okay. In any event, good question, David. We'll have to take a look at the Torah and see. Okay, so let's go over the Gemara inside now, or I should say really outside. So we started the end of 57b and we continued on to 58a, and the Gemara's talked about seeing this Markulis, and Markulis we mentioned was throwing rocks or stones at onto a idol. This idol was made up of 3 stones. It had 2 stones on the bottom and 1 on top, so it was like balanced. And the way they would worship it is throwing more stones on top of it, which is possibly the reason why it gives this example, or it mentions specifically this idol worship, because only this idol, according to some opinions, was the one that you would say a bracha on, because it was just built or it was unique. So could be you would only say this bracha on something that was just built. So, and we just saw in Shulchan Aruch that the bracha today is not really said. And the reason why we don't normally say it is because it is, it's so we see these idols all the time, which does leave it a little vague as to what would happen if an idol was just built that you're not familiar with. If they just brought some idol from India, a new idol. Would that require, it would seemingly require a bracha, because these reasons don't seem to apply. And then we talked about uprooting idol worship, that there's a bracha when you uproot it. There's a whole discussion, is it when it's uprooted from one place, or is it uprooted from the whole Israel? And does this bracha apply outside of Israel? Because the bracha here in Israel is she'akar akom me'artzenu, that he took it from, uprooted it from our land. So so the Gemara here says that it brings this brisa that the first opinion is that a place where idol worship is uprooted, you say this bracha, and then you say, so should it be uprooted from all places of Israel. Now the question is, what does it mean of all places of Israel? Does that mean the state of Israel? No, it's the country. Or does it mean where Jewish people live? It could mean, so should it be removed from all places where Jewish people live, or it could mean in Israel, which would mean that the only thing that was uprooted is one place in Israel, but really there are other idols still in Israel, and you still say the bracha. Or does it mean he uprooted the whole Israel of idol worship? And when you say this sentence afterward, you say that he should uproot it from all places where Jewish people live, all different neighborhoods of Jewish people, which would mean outside of Israel, because in Israel it was all uprooted. So again, there's two ways of learning. Does it have to be uprooted from the entire Israel, or does it have to be uprooted only from one place in Israel to say this bracha? And based on those two ways is how you translate Yisrael. Does Yisrael mean a place where Jews live, or Yisrael mean the land of Israel? And then it says, b'chutz la'aretz, when this happens outside of Israel, you don't have to say v'hashev leiv avdehem liavdecha, because it's majority goyim. So you don't say that he returns his servants to his worship, because the majority are goyim outside of Israel. Shimon Elazar says even outside of Israel, you would say this statement of v'hashev leiv avdehem liavdecha. So that you would add this statement as well, which the implication is that this bracha should be recited even outside of Israel, because you're even saying this extra statement there. The only question is that how do you say the bracha me artseinu, from our land outside of Israel? So according to some, the actual wording of the bracha is a little different. Outside of Israel, say this bracha, but you change the word. You don't say me artseinu, you say me hamakim hazeh, from this place. You don't say me artseinu. Then we had this interesting statement that in the future, the goyim are going to convert. And
Rabbi,
yes,
before you change subjects, so there were certain people that wrote to the Rebbe that they wanted to move to Israel, and the Rebbe said, make here Israel, make where you are Israel. So it could be that aspect of it's outside of Israel, but the place that you are, make it like Israel, as far as the implications of that.
So to the extent that you would say in a bracha, blessed is Hashem who uproots Avodah Zarah from our land, I don't know if the Rebbe meant to that extent, that you could say that bracha outside of Israel because you're going to call this your land because you made this Israel. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think that's taking it a little far. You're making it Israel, but I don't know if you want to call it our land. I mean, everything is the Yidden's, right? So it's not totally wrong to call it our land. Everything ultimately is created for the Yidden, right? But at the same time, in a revealed way, it's not really our land.
But so I guess the way the Rebbe is saying it, he's saying it in regards to the Jews outside of Israel and having an influence and having the same connection with other Jews outside of Israel. And that means make this place Israel as far as
spiritually, you should make it Israel, of course. The goal is, the ultimate goal is the whole world will be Israel and Eretz Yisrael will be Yerushalayim, right? That's the ultimate goal. But I don't know if you could take it that far to say this bracha of Me Artseinu outside of Israel, just because you made it in your mind, it's like Israel, and you've reached a level of spirituality, where you feel that it's Israel. I guess if everyone would feel that way, then yes, if the whole world felt that this is Israel, so this is our land.
Israel was given to us by God.
Right. But it does say, Asida Eretz Yisrael Espashet B'chol Ha'olamis. It does say that Israel is going to spread out to all the world. And it says Yerushalayim will spread out to the whole Eretz Yisrael. So there is room to say that it's all our land, except that I don't know if you could say it yet. I don't think so. Yes,
not with 16 million.
Mashiach came now. You could say it now. You could say Me'at Seinu to get out of it, or we have Tchias HaMesim. Yes, Mordechai.
Aren't there several stories about people who tried to make it to Eretz Yisrael but couldn't because it wasn't for sure, most notably the Baal Shem Tov?
Right. So you're saying you see from there that it's not called Israel. Is that what you're saying?
Right, but I'm just also saying that that in addition to that, I guess there's sometimes not for sure that somebody make it to Israel even.
And that's why the Rebbe told them that. That's why the Rebbe would tell people to make here Israel, because it's not basher for you to physically be in Israel. Right. Good point. Okay. Good. Okay. In any event, yeah, I don't know if it really is applicable again to this Gemara that the encouragement, the motivation that the Rebbe gave people, Machda Eretz Yisrael. It was a very now the basis of that of that statement that the Rebbe would say, Machda Eretz Yisrael, which first of all it came from the Tzemach Tzedek, I think maybe. But anyway, the basis of it is that Eretz Yisrael, Eretz comes from the word Ratzoin. Eretz Sheratz Alasos Ratzoin Koina. Make here Eretz Yisrael means make here a land that wants to do the will of Hashem. That's the concept of Machda Eretz Yisrael, is make here a place. The Rebbe said it a million times. Eretz Sheratz Alasos Ratzoin Koina. Rashi brings that down, but the Rebbe would repeat it often that the Eretz comes from the term the Ratzoin, that it desires to fulfill Hashem's will. So in any event, we have this concept that when Mashiach comes, it says the nations are going to be Megayer, all the Goyim are going to convert. And so the question is that there is a statement that says we're not going to accept converts when Mashiach comes, like at the time of David and Shlomo. They, they converted when they wanted to convert in the time of when we had peace. So they converted because they wanted to be at peace. They wanted to have the benefits of the Jewish people. They didn't convert sincerely, and so therefore, in the time of Mashiach, it says we're not going to accept converts. It's a Gemara. The Gemara says this in Yevamos, "Ein mekablin gerim b'yimais haMashiach," that we don't accept converts. So what does it mean? So they're going to all come to convert. It means that they will serve Hashem, but they're not going to really be accepted as converts. They'll on their own. They'll say, "Yeah, we want to worship Hashem." You know what I mean? And they'll want to be converts. They'll come to serving Hashem, but they're not actually going to convert. There is a pshat from the Netziv that has a very innovative way of understanding it. He says, when Mashiach comes, we're not going to let them convert because they're converting because of the greatness that the Jewish people are having. They're doing it insincerely. But when Tchias HaMesim happens, after loss of love, when loss of Levi happens, which is after the time of Mashiach and after the war of Gog and Magog, then we will be able to accept the Goyim to convert, because then they're converting sincerely. Because of course the whole world will be in a state of awareness of the greatness of Hashem. So then it will be acceptable. We'll be able to accept the converts. So maybe that's what it's referring to, that when Mashiach comes, after the time of Mashiach, during the second era, so to speak, of the coming of Mashiach, that second era, they will convert. So that's a one view. But in any event, our Gemara mentions about saying the statement that do you say this outside of Israel? The statement v'hashev leiv avdehem liavdecha, the hearts of those that worship you will, the hearts of those of your servants will return to worship. Okay, then the Gemara mentioned about seeing Bavel, the wicked Bavel. When you see it, you say these brachas, and it mentions the different brachas that one would say, and brought down that one would say them with Shem and Malchus, with Hashem's name, and it mentions the bracha that you see the Bavel, you see the city of Bavel. So the Kaf HaChaim I mentioned, it brings down, it's between Baghdad and, which is on the river called Chidekel. It's in between that in the city called Chila. which is on the Euphrates, Nahar Pras. Is that the Euphrates River? Nahar Pras? Persian River? Anyway, so it's like 2 hours before you reach the city of Chila. I don't know if any of you have a map, but this is from the Kaf HaChaim. He brings this location, and this is where it's destroyed. It's a Midbar Shmama, and it's a desolate desert there, and that's called the old Babylon. There's Churvais, there's broken down. It's all broken down and destruction. So that would be where you could say this bracha. Then there's the bracha that the person sees the house of Nebuchadnezzar, which we saw in Shulchan Aruch. You see the Goy Varoyos, the lion's den. I think there's a medrash that says there was 1,500 lions that Daniel was dropped into. And I think it's a Yalkut Shemaini. I think it gives that number, 1,500. And anyway, none of them, they didn't eat him. I once heard a pshat that he told them that after dinner, there are speeches. So none of them wanted to listen to the speeches, so they didn't eat him up. Anyway, that's just a little joke. So the Kivshon Ha'esh, the fire that they threw Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah into, and that was the story where they refused to bow down, and they were thrown into this fire, and they were saved. So with the bracha there is Sha'asa Nisim. The Gemara says Laviseinu, to our fathers, and I just showed you from the Shulchan Aruch the other version, which is really L'Tzadikim. They did miracles to tzaddikim, b'makam hazeh, in this place. And then it mentions about Markulis, this idol worship, that Hashem has mercy and he has slow to anger to those that transgress his will. And then it mentions about this interesting place where somewhere in Babylon where an animal can't leave unless you put earth from that place. So what you say is Baruch Oise Omer V'Yoise Geyser Makayim. I guess similar to our Baruch Sha'amar bracha. So you say that that bracha. It either means all of it, Omer V'Yoise, or Geyser Makayim, or it means all together, Omer V'Yoise Geyser Makayim. So you recite this bracha that Hashem gave a decree that it should be destroyed, and it was fulfilled. Hashem says it, and it happens, and he does it. So that's the, now it is discussed also, do you have to see the idol itself, or you see the house of the idol in order to say this bracha? So in Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Berurah brings down that the official view is that even a house of Avodah Zarah from the Beis Yosef, but he writes the Bach says only if you see it. So it seems to be a machlokes. If you see it, yeah, the actual idol, or is it just the house of the idol? That's good enough to say this bracha. And then we've talked about Rava when he saw this donkey. He slapped it on the back and he said, "Go run and do the will of your creator." And that had to do with the destruction, continuing this decree of that Babylon will be a place of destruction. And then we mentioned about Mar Berei de Ravina, the son of Ravina. When he reached that place, he would take it in his like handkerchief, and he would throw it outside of Bavel to fulfill this verse about how it's going to be destroyed. And he said that pasuk v'titesia b'matatea. B'matatea is a broom. V'titesia b'matatea ashmei. With a broom of destruction, I will sweep it out. And So Rav Ashi says, I never heard of Rav Hamnuna, but I said all these brachas myself, even without hearing them from Rav Hamnuna. The only question is, how did he say these brachas with Hashem's name? If he didn't know that you're supposed to. So the commentaries say he must have said them without Hashem's name. Because with Hashem's name, he wouldn't have been able to, wouldn't have said these brachas. Then the Gemara continues on the next page, page 58a, and we mentioned about when Babylon was cursed. So the curse affected the neighbors, and what is in? But when Israel was cursed, when Shoimron, which is the 10 tribes of Israel, when they had their punishment, when they were cursed, it was only to them the curse, and the other nations didn't get cursed. They had vineyards and fields. So what's the pshat? So what does the Gemara mean to say? That even when the Jewish people did bad, their bad was not intrinsic, and therefore it didn't affect all of the neighboring nations, neighboring places. And so when Babylon was cursed, anything around it was hurt, because they were ra be'etzem. But Shoimron, they did some sins, but they're not evil inside. They're not through and through. Because of that, the Gemara is saying that Nisbaruchu Shchinah, the neighbors were blessed. They didn't get cursed. The neighbors, they were blessed. The evil of the Yidden, that got punished. But or actually, I see a commentary here says a little differently, that the evil of the when Bavel was so bad that their punishment was a real punishment. It's just destruction. When the Yidden were bad, the punishment to them was more like a toiva. It was like a good thing. They needed to get a rebuke. So it was, in a certain sense, it didn't have a bad effect on everyone around them. It just was a rebuke for them, and then it was actually something good for them, and they got what they needed, and therefore it didn't affect in a negative way the bad around the people, the nations around them, because it wasn't really bad in the first place. It was just the punishment of bad. But it was the goal was really to lift up the Jewish people and to have them return and correct their ways. Who says this? This is Anaf Yosef says this shot. In other words, it was like an act of chesed to the Yidden. It's a gvura sheba chesed, like a strictness that's connected to kindness, and therefore it doesn't destroy those around it. Okay, then we had Rav Hamnuna mentioned about seeing 600,000 Yidden, and you say this bracha that Hashem knows what's in the mind of every single one. Now, when you see a huge amount of goyim, you say a different pasuk, Goisha imchem, ma'oid chafra yeladetchem. It's a whole pasuk that their gathering is an embarrassment. That even if they start out great, in the end it'll be a desolate desert. That's where's this? A pasuk in Yirmiyah. So you say that. So you say that when you see this large group of goyim. Now, I think the Maritz Chias mentions that this bracha, he brings a medrash that says, that argues on this Gemara and says, in other words, that there's another alternative view that I think says you say the bracha chacham harozim even on goyim. I have to look it up. Where I saw this. I must have seen it in the back. Oh boy, my time is up. Okay, so then the rabbis say if a person sees the Oichlasei Yisrael, you say the Baruch Chacham Harazim. You see this huge group of people, you would say the Baruch Chacham Harazim, because Ben Zoyma saw this on the step of Har Habayis, of the mountain of the by the Beis Hamikdash, the mountain, the Har Habayis, mountain of the Beis Hamikdash, and he said the bracha Baruch Chacham Harazim. And he added this whole interesting statement, which we wanted to talk about a little, where he mentions how the whole world is there to serve him. Very interesting statement that he says. He mentions that when Adam Arishon had to, when he was around, he needed to bake bread, he needed to plow, he needed to plant, he needed to harvest, he needed to gather, he needed to thresh, he needed to winnow, he needed to sort, and he needed to grind, he needed to sift, and he needed to knead, and he needed to bake it, and then afterwards he finally ate it. You think it took like a month maybe, but it's a lot of work. And I wake up and I have it all ready. It's all before me. And then he mentioned about getting clothes. Adam Rishon, to get clothes, what did he have to do? He had to cut the wool. He had to whiten it. He had to comb it, and he had to spin it, and he had to weave it. And afterwards, he would have a garment to wear. And I find it all ready before me. All the nations, they wait for me in my door to do business. In other words, they're ready to, they come to me to do business. I don't even have to go anywhere. And they have it all ready for me. They bring it to me. I wake up and it's all in front of me. And we mentioned yesterday that he was a wealthy person, and he was able to concentrate on his Torah learning, and he had everything arranged for him. But it is interesting that he says this bracha when he's there, and he sees all the 600,000 people. So he says that bracha, and then he mentions this bracha somehow connected to the fact that every person has their area of expertise. And he mentions, the fact that Hashem understands the thoughts of every single person. And then he mentions about how he is able to concentrate on his Torah learning, and everyone else can fulfill all the other necessities that he needs. And it sort of like leads right into this idea that he is able to, the benefit of Hashem creating everything that each person thinks in their own way allows him to be able to concentrate on his area, which is the emphasizing that this bracha of Chacham Harazim, of course, it's praising Hashem, but it's also he's connecting it with how he benefits from that. How do you benefit by the fact that Hashem creates every person with a different way of thinking? Is the fact that you're able to concentrate on your area of expertise, and you make money in your way and able to pay people for them to do your other the other things that they need to do, and you can fulfill what you like. You can do what you like most. Okay, we're going to stop here. Sei gesund, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Bye-bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Rabbi.